As we shift our attention over to the grain market, this week we were joined by Heather Ramsey with the ARC Group. We covered a whole host of topics with Heather and began the conversation by getting her general take on the latest developments in the markets.
The last week has been quite the roller coaster between, thinking about possibly getting back all this Ukraine grain to then coming in Wednesday and realizing, oh, Ukraine wasn't even at the table when we were talking about this food corridor. So maybe it's not all coming back. So we've had that kind of yin yang going on. We've had the weather predictions be drastically different week over week. And so the market has just sort of done some consolidating from a fund perspective and then awaiting another spark. We're just really waiting for that next spark so that we can decide maybe which direction this thing should keep going, or what kind of the outlook is for the next couple months, honestly.
So if I hear you right, fundamentally the market is in good position, just trying to find some sort of news to either go up or down, right?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally this is a great spot for us to be at, with the expected crop size in the US on both corn and soybeans, kind of warrants these levels and or better. Honestly, from that standpoint, we really need a really, really good corn crop in the U.S. to sort of stabilize, grain production across the globe, as well as in the soybean crop, even more so in the soybean crop. We need that to be a really great soybean crop to really give any sort of surplus to the globe, so to speak. So any hint of a decrease to production or adverse weather that could be leading into some critical timeframes, that is getting, a positive response on both the corn market, the soybean market, obviously in the wheat market. And we're coming into crunch time with wheat harvest here. And so we're really going to be looking for those on-farm field reports on wheat to determine what we do and don't have that we can supply the world with at this point.
Mm-hmm. As we talk about it being a weather market, we've seen some variety of forecasts. Is that a fair statement to say?
Yin yang is kind of what we've seen here over the last week, to go from, hey, the next 30 to 60 day window looks like it's slightly below normal temps and slightly above average moisture, to then coming in this week and nope, there's a significant ridge building through the central U.S. It looks high, it looks dry. If you're a dryland farmer, the forecast this week gives you a little pause to be like, I think we're good marketing right now. We need to sort of figure out how to protect ourselves without getting any more of those true, futures commitments in place and sort of letting this thing pan out for a little bit. Yeah.
On the topic of weather, earlier in the program, we talked about hail. Did you see some hail on your drive-in today across Nebraska?
Unfortunately, I did. I'm in south central Nebraska coming into Lincoln, and there are some significant spots where there's hail. And I'm thankful that at this stage, it's early in the season. So most everybody should have enough flexibility in their plans from what they have marketed versus what's insured, that they can make those adjustments as needed. The one thing I've learned over my experience with marketing and dealing with hail on the farm is that slow decision making is better than knee-jerk reaction the next morning. You're devastated. And I know it's really hard because you spend a lot of time and effort putting that in the ground, but kind of evaluating where all those dollars and cents shake out in a per acre basis is the best way to go, and kind of figure out what should I be replanting. Maybe I'm past that replant date, which we are for corn, and is that the direction I need to go or not? So just like slow and concise and consistent decision making in that foray is definitely well advised.
As you look back over the past week, maybe 2 weeks, what are you seeing when it comes to cash markets across the area?
They're great. Here in central Nebraska, we've gone from, on old crop corn standpoint, seeing anywhere from, a 10 to 15 over basis to then going 45, as high as 45 over in the last couple days here. So really in weeks time, we've seen a 20-30 cent pop. And a lot of that is because of how long this planting season has taken. And then the spray follow up to all of the planting activities. And so just been out of the end user or out of a delivery mode for a little bit longer than expected. Some of that too is just how much is left on farm. I know in looking at my client base, we have significantly less on farm this time of year than what we're used to having because prices have been so good leading up to that. We've also seen some of this competition in the old crop start breeding into new crop. Again, soybeans it's a real issue globally of where soybean production is coming from. And so trying to compete for those beans and be the first ones with your hand on them this fall, we're starting to see that. We're starting to see that in the basis market. And it's kind of exciting to know we're going to have some good opportunities there.
We do have a few U.S. Department of Agriculture reports, one due on Friday and then another due toward the later of the month, right?
Yes.
Tell us what you're watching in those.
You know, I'm really looking to see how much they change around wheat stocks on that Friday report. There shouldn't be too much of an increase. I think we're expecting a little bit of an increase because of an assumption that more Black Sea wheat could move. So looking at that number, really, I'm geared up for the 30th and to know what those planted acres are. There's a lot of discussion about corn acres getting switched to soybeans. I think there should be also some questions around how much is double crop and how much is first primary crop in that instance. And then just how much prevent plant is out there, because that's been a big, huge rumor out there in the market, that some wild numbers. It'll be nice to see that on the 30th and kind of put that to bed and then be able to calculate where crop productions really, truly look like for each of those primary crops.
Heather, want to give you the final word here, as we like to do. Final piece of grain marketing advice perhaps you'd like to share.
You know, I've always heard from a very well-spoken mentor of mine that, hey, if there's profit to be made, let's make it. And so I think that's kind of what we're using for 22. If there's profit to be made, let's make it. When you look out to 23, if there's profit right now to be made, I know that's hard to peg, then let's go ahead and make it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, obviously.